Hi Vibhu, welcome to the interview. Thank you for taking out the time and joining us. And congrats from our end on your selection to IIM Ahmedabad. So how is it feeling?
Okay. First of all, thank you for this opportunity, Ajay. I hope that I'm able to help people who are either starting with the journey for the CAT, or who are already like have certain doubts in their mind. So I hope that I'm able to help, by discussing it and interviewing with you. The feeling has been great. It has been a month since I've gotten my result. It still hasn't sunk in. It's a dream for so many people to to go to IIM Ahmedabad and to be one of those people who have been like able to realize their dream. It has been a great feeling. I'm just enjoying it right now. I've been asked some of my seniors in IIM Ahmedabad now to enjoy and relax right now because it's going to be really grueling.
Yeah. So Vibhu, take us through your journey. Where have you studied and about your undergrad experiences, and at what point did you decide that you would want to do an MBA?
Okay. So I've studied, I've completed my undergraduate degree in Bachelor's in Management Studies from Deendayal Upadhyay College. It's one of colleges from, University of Delhi. So having done my bachelor's in management studies, MBA was definitely something I wanted to pursue. But in my second year, I realized that the course that I was actually pursuing was a lot theoretical based, and I wanted some practical knowledge about it. So I thought of giving CAT. CAT 2019 was my second attempt. I'd given CAT in 2018 as well. I'd scored a 93 percentile in it. So I'd put in the effort in my CAT 2018 preparation as well. But I later realized that there were certain things that I'd missed on, and certain areas that I needed to work upon more. So in CAT 2018, luckily I was able to fix those things and get a good percentile.
Okay. So while you were preparing for CAT 2019, at what point did you start seriously preparing for this, and how did the journey go from
So,
over
so
there?
if I talk about CAT 2018, I started preparation for 2018 in January 2018.
Okay.
Kind of that, I first cleared up on my basics. Uh, yeah, but the real preparation started in around July when I started giving mocks very seriously. I gave a decent number of mocks. I was revising my notes. I was going, practicing a lot of questions. But on that day, so if I talk about my CAT 2018 course, I had a 93 percentile. If I talk about the breakdown, I had a 98 percentile in verbal VRC. I had a 69 percentile in DILR, and I had an 88 percentile in quant. So my DILR section did not go according to what I had planned, and that affected my quant as well.
So,
But I later on realized that even my quant preparation needed to be stepped up a bit. It wasn't up to the mark that it should have been. For CAT 2019, I actually started my prep quite late because I was still, not happy. I was still disappointed about my results from 2018. I had put in a lot of effort, but it didn't happen. Then I started thinking whether I need to have some more work experience, because I was interested in the field of finance, and of course, looking at the selection process of these schools, they do give certain weightage to work experience. So I started thinking whether I should go for some work experience. But then I realized that I should give it my best. Have, since I had an offer in my hand, it's better that I still try for it. And in case I do not do well this year, I can probably put in more effort and do it next year. So this year I started around September. I was a bit late in starting my preparation, but I had a better idea since I had a lot of insight, and since I had already prepared for it, I was at a much better position. So that is why I started a bit late for
so, uh, so,
2019.
yeah, for CAT 2019, when did you start giving the mocks, and especially how did you handle the mock scores because they kind of
Okay,
bring you down?
in September 2018, I first of all, reflected about what went wrong in 2018. The first thing that I saw in my DLR was that my selection strategy, of how I select a set during the exam wasn't that well. So I actually picked up the wrong sets during my CAT 2018. So that was an area I knew I needed to work upon. My verbal ability percentile was pretty good in 2018. So I knew that there isn't a lot that I need to, change in it. I can still, continue with the strategy that I had, in 2018. For my quant, I knew that I needed to work a lot more in it. Having only an 88 percentile, I was actually planning to, take it to around 96, 97 percentile. Having a non-engineering background, I thought that even that was a good thing. I would try to capitalize on verbal ability and TILR, and this would be my third section, which I'll try to do decently. So my overall score is still good, and I still get to that 99 percentile mark. So I started giving mocks immediately, because for me this was not for me from September, it was not about learning theories or learning concepts. It was more about trying to find my areas of weakness and my areas of strength, and to particularly focus on my areas of weakness. So I started giving mocks immediately, and I started analyzing them a lot. So most of my time in September and October especially went on analyzing the mocks a lot more than actually giving those mocks.
So on the actual day of CAT, were you confident that you're going to do well, or were you nervous on the particular day of the examination?
Actually, I wasn't nervous, I would say, because I actually went with the attitude of having no expectations at all. Having already having a bad experience in 2018, I was taking no chances this time. I only wanted to perform well. That was the only thing in my mind. Whatever question if I should be able to do, I should do them. And if there is any question that I can solve, it should be like I should solve them. That was the only thing that was there in my mind. There weren't any expectations that I had in my mind. And even after coming back from the test, I did not try analyzing my exams like that. I was just hoping anywhere between a 140, 150, because the only thing that I actually analyzed was my DILR exam. And once I knew that I've done at least 4-5 mocks, 4-5 sets, absolutely right, then I was like, okay, I do not need to analyze anymore. Whatever happens, I'm happy that at least my DILR has gone good.
So did you wait for the results, or you started with your WAT and PI preparation once the exam is over?
Okay, so actually I just waited for my scorecard. I think it came around 28th, 29th November, and so my raw score was 194. So the moment that I knew I got to 194, I realized that I'm getting a good percentile. To be on a safe side, I expected it to be around 99.7 plus. Immediately after that, I thought, whether I should leave my job and I should completely focus on, preparing for my WAT PI, because I knew that this is probably going to be the best chance that I have at converting, one of the best C schools in India. So what I did was I discussed it with a few people. I discussed it with my brother. He's my twin brother. He's pursuing his MBA from XAT Jamshedpur. He's in his first year. He's about to finish it. So I actually, consulted him on him, and he also had the experience of interviewing, getting a call from IIM Ahmedabad. So he wasn't able to convert it, but he had that experience, and he knew what all went wrong with his interview. So he then advised me to put my best foot forward, to leave my job and to quit my job and to focus completely on WAT PI. So somewhere around the middle of December, I started working on it. I joined with Time Jhandewalan, and it's a center in Delhi for my WAT PI preparation. So from mid-December, I started working on it. After that, so I started doing on it, and I was preparing for that as well, because that that is conducted in the month of January.
January, correct.
Yeah. So that was the time when I started preparing.
And you scored you scored very exceptionally well in XAT as well. So were you preparing for DM separately, or how did that preparation go?
So to be honest with you, I was actually not happy with my verbal, the way that verbal went in CAT. I could have done better in it. I had a 96 percentile this year, and I thought I could have done better. So I was actually practicing or focusing a lot more on verbal. I wasn't focusing a lot more on DM. I did practice questions. I did practice previous year paper for decision making, but I'll be honest, I did not focus a lot on that, and that was actually the reason why I did not score that well in DM. I got only, I think it was an 89 percentile in DM. I'm just happy that I just cleared the cutoff. But I did well in my verbal ability. I got a 99.6 percentile in XAT. So I just ensured that my quant and my verbal went well in it. And you have to also agree to the fact that this year the XAT paper was not easy. The DM section this year was really tough. So even I was a bit clueless at times in with the options that were given. But you have to just maintain your calm, and you have to try to solve those questions that you think are absolutely right and you're absolutely sure, or wherein you know that you have already eliminated three or four options, two or three options, and you can make a guess, calculated guess at that point.
You were how did you go about preparing for the personal interviews? What kind of plans you were or strategies that you were following for WAT and PI?
So for IIM Ahmedabad, specifically, it's the AWT, which is pretty
Correct.
different from the WAT. So for that, there's a similar kind of a test that happens in GMAT, the analytical writing test.
Correct.
So you get a lot of, so it's a case study kind of thing, right? You've got two passages that you have to read, and then you have to give your comment whether you agree or disagree with the author in that case, which is pretty similar to what GMAT has. So I would take case studies from the official GMAT site, and I would use those case studies to practice for my AWT for for Ahmedabad. I actually created a structure of thoughts to be able to be able to write. I'm not a good writer, to be honest. I'm not like an avid writer. So I had to practice a lot for it. So I created a structure for myself wherein I would try to, find the assumptions that are there in the case, and I would try to, justify whether it makes sense or not. And then creating many conclusions, I would then come to the final conclusion whether I agree or disagree with the author. So focused a lot on that for my IIM Ahmedabad interview, and I think that really helped me a lot during my AWT on the actual day. For my personal interview, so there are certain spaces that are there, from which they ask you questions. It is your work ex, it is your academics, it is your hobbies, what extracurricular activities, your HR related questions about your long term goals and your short term goals. So what I did was I went through a lot of transcripts of people who have from non-engineering background who have earlier given IIM Ahmedabad interviews and who have converted it as well. I just wrote down the questions that they were asked. I just created separate sections, and I wrote down all the questions that I could see in different sections. Then I would try to answer it. One of the practices that I did at that time was to record myself while I'm answering any question. So that would actually help me to see whether my posture is right, how my hand expression, how I'm using my hands, how my hand movements are. Am I confident? Does it look as if I've learned that answer and I'm just speaking it out? I'm not, there's no whether there is any fluidness to it, or like whether it's continuous or not. So those are the kind of aspects that I looked into while I was preparing for the interview process. I had a lot of mentors. I had my brother. I would send them videos. I would ask them to see how I'm speaking. Are there any inputs that they would want to give to me? Certain tweakings to my answer. How should I answer it? How should I change my language a bit? So those things really helped me a lot. And given the fact that IIM Ahmedabad was one of my first interviews that were there, so I had to do my best on the first interview that I had. I did not have a scope of any errors. So I practiced a lot in that sense. I did not give a lot of talks per se in that sense, but I asked a lot of people to, see my videos and tell me what is wrong according to them. What are my answers right? Do you think that I should do any changes to those answers, and how I can improve on that? So that is how I prepared for myself.
I think, I mean, that's a very good, strategy that you've used, recording yourself and asking, sending out to your friends and your family, because we know that it really helps, but then we hesitate doing those obvious things which would really help us in our actual improvement. So I think that was very good.
I mean, there is definitely some part of you feeling embarrassed and you feeling that people might judge you. But see, if you want to do well and if you want to get that, you'll have to do whatever you want to do. You'll have to
Correct.
get over that fear of you being judged by other people, because at the end of the day, two strangers are going to judge you that day. Two strangers for you are going to judge your answers that day. So it's better if you overcome this fear of sending your answers to somebody you know. And also the reason why I would send them videos, because then that gives them the leisure of sending back feedback whenever they can. I couldn't have asked them to take my interview then and there, because they might be busy with some other work, and then I also had to prepare for my academics and for other other aspects of the interview. So that is why I felt that sending them interviews, interview clips of me answering something was a better strategy in that.
Also, if they miss some point, they can actually see the
Yeah.
video again and then give you the proper feedback, because live they might miss some points, and
Yes.
maybe if they're taking it for long, maybe the end part of the interview, the feedback might not be absolutely correct. So I think that's a very good strategy
Yeah.
that you have used. And how was it on the actual day of the interviews? I mean, I think you might have got calls from many IIMs. So how was it?
So,
Uh,
so I did not get a call from IIM Bangalore. I think
okay.
probably because of having less work ex.
I think the
I had,
criteria for Bangalore is a bit different than. I mean, many people who got calls from A did not get it from
yeah,
B.
but I was actually expecting, because I had a decent percentage. I mean, as a non-engineer, I was expecting maybe with the diversity factor and other things. So when I did not get a call from Bangalore, that made me even work more hard for my Ahmedabad interview, because I knew that there are not a lot of calls that I've got. So if I talk about the day of IIM Ahmedabad, so I had it in the morning, and I was second, second on my panel. So the first guy in my panel was also somebody who had, a similar degree to me, and he was in my brother's college. So we were kind of acquaintances. So we started interacting during that time, and we were just talking about our academics, things that we want them to ask us, things that we do not want them to ask us, any current affairs that we've got, just to calm ourselves a bit, and just talking about other things as well. So that really helped me calm down my nerves. Before the AWD, once the AWD happened, I was pretty confident about it. So the only thing that you have to do is that you have to understand that it's a selection process, not a rejection process, not a rejection process. You have to understand that they are willing to invest time in you. They're willing to invest 30-35 minutes to know you. So there's definitely something that you have in you for which they're willing to interview. So those small things, they actually give you a lot of confidence that day, and you just do not think about the result or how it's going to go, whether they're going to grill you or not. You just look into the other things. I personally did that. I looked into the other small things. I did not focus a lot on how it's going to go. For me, I just only one thing I wanted to do was to have a good interview, learn something from that interview, and I knew that this is going to be something that I will remember for the rest of my life. So probably enjoy that process as well, even though if it's grilling or if it has its up or low. That was the only thought that I had at that time.
Yeah, I mean, very well said, Vibhu. So, Vibhu, I mean, our undergrad shapes us as a person to a very large extent. So, how was your undergrad experience, and how did it help you in your journey towards going into a good MBA college?
So during my undergrad, the only thing that I ensured was that I take part in a lot of activities, all right, be it organizing events, being it going out to participate in events. I would definitely do that. And apart from that, I ensured that my grades were not bad. I've got an 80 plus percentage in my undergrad, and I'd already known that for your criteria, for these schools, they do want a good uh, you know grade in your undergrad. And I'd also had the advice of a lot of my super seniors who had told them that they did not have a good grade. They had a 7 pointers, which later on became a lot of difficulty for them. So they had to work even harder in these schools to get good interview, to get good summer internships, and to then have good placements as well. So these are two main things that I focused a lot upon, just to participate in a lot of events, and those also give you a lot of insights, right? Those help you teach a lot of things. You interact with a lot of people. You work on your communication skills. You are actually having the responsibility, because in school you've got your teachers you basically manage everything. You're just following orders. But in college you've got the freedom of doing things on your own, getting worked on your own. So that really helps a lot, and that was the major thing that I focused during my time.
What kind of support you had from your friends? I mean, obviously, you have a twin brother who is already into one of the top B schools in India. So, how were your friends and your mentors supporting you during these times?
So if I talk about the CAT preparation, since this year I did not have any coaching as such, and I only had September to, like, from September onwards I started preparing. My major focus was quant, and I wasn't good at quant. Even though I had help earlier, I wasn't good at it. So one of the major things that my friends helped me who were good at quant was to solve my doubts with quant, and some of them were really silly doubts, but still they helped me with it. And probably that really helped me that day. I scored a 99 percentile, which was something that I would have never imagined, when I was starting preparation. So they really helped me, get improved in areas that I was not good in. And my mentors just, my brother actually helped me a lot. He just told me this, practice a lot, and he gave me a lot of, insights about what he's doing in his MBA program in the first year, what all activities he's a part of. So that also encouraged me a lot to do, better and better. And I really wanted to convert a good B school, this time. So that motivated me a lot. So that were the certain things that really helped me during my preparation.
So Vibhu, I mean, similar to you, many people would be going through the same journey right now. They
Yeah,
might be, I mean, right now we are in June, and many would be thinking, start to think seriously
yeah.
about giving a good CAT 2020. So, what would your advice be for them from giving a good CAT and other tests as well? Because you got
Yeah.
pretty good score at XAT as well. So, please share all your
So,
thoughts on that.
for me, just before I started my preparation this year, there was one thing that I realized, that for every CAT strategy, there are two parts to it. One part is that is common for everyone, all right? Everyone who scores a decent percentile, there are certain things that are common through each and every strategy. And then there's a second strategy, which is that part of the strategy that you create for yourself, depending upon, your reflections about what your strengths and weaknesses are. Now, a lot of people, what they try to do is they try to copy the second part, which I think is not something that you should do. And they will be fixated on copying the second part so much that they forget the first part. Now, if I discuss the first part, the thing that is common, now there's certain things that are common, like in every strategy. One of those things are analyzing and mocks. The other thing is being consistent with the preparation. And the third thing is, a lot of hard work goes into it. So these are three things that are common to every strategy that you see. And without focusing on this, or without actually following this part of the strategy, you'll not be able to, do justice to your second part. So for me, analyzing your mocks is very important. I can, tell from my own experience that if you're not able to analyze them well, and you don't put your efforts into analyzing your mocks, you'll not be able to perform that well. You'll have to give a lot of time to analyzing the mocks. Secondly, consistency. Consistency is definitely required. It helps you, build up that momentum till the D day. So even if there's a single day, I mean, you can take a cheat day 1 or 2 days, but you need to be very focused, and you need to be consistent with your hard work, with your preparation. And third is hard work. A lot of people try to, try to, I'd say, judge the amount of effort that they've put in by mentioning or quantifying it in the number of hours that they've put in. I'm not a big fan of that. What I believe is that you should look into the quality of hours that you've put in. Even if you're able to put in 2 or 3 hours of every day preparation, but if you're able to get output that is equal to 4 or 5 hours, even that works for it. So putting in a huge number of hours does not correlate to you putting in huge amounts of effort, because there are days when I'm on weekends when I'm actually exhausted, I'm putting in 6-7 hours of work, but my output is only equivalent to 3-4 hours. So that does not exactly mean that I'm putting in a lot of effort. So these are certain things that I think are the part of the first aspect. Now, when you've analyzed your mocks, you'll understand your areas of weakness and your areas of strength. So from that, you create your second strategy. You create, you then go on, move forward as to how you can improve on those weaknesses. Whether you want to practice more questions, whether you want to give more sectional tests, whether you want to give more mocks, what is that thing that helps you improve in those areas, whether you want to go back and revise your topics. So that aspect is something that you need to understand yourself on your own. And this is something I would definitely say, until and unless you've got a twin, all right, only then try to copy somebody else's strategy, because learning methods are different, and each and everything is different. The way that you even go about preparing is different. So when you're trying to copy somebody's strategy, try to only take those parts that are actually helpful for you. Don't go on just blankly following someone's strategies because they got a good percentile with it does not necessarily mean that you'll also get a good percentile with it. So those are the major things that I follow during my preparation. For me personally, I focused a lot on analyzing my mocks this year and giving a lot of sectional tests and mock tests. Those were the only things, because I had already prepared and I had already revised a lot. I did not spend a lot of time on it. So my major areas from September was to analyze that.
Very well said, Vibhu. I think you explained it very clearly. Subbu, what about the WAT and PI? Because there is very less window between the CAT results are out and then your actual WAT and PI time. So, what
Yeah.
would your advice be
So,
for those areas?
so for me, I was actually lucky in that sense because I knew that I'm getting calls. So I straight away started preparing. I know that there's a time crunch in the kind of preparation that we want. I took the risk and I devoted all my time to it. The only for people who are actually working at the time when they're preparing for personal interviews, I would tell them to try to find you know try to actually break your time, whatever free time that you have, and try to break it into sections that they're going to ask you questions. So prepare, give some time for academics, keep some time for answering HR questions, keep some time for you know catching up with the current affairs that are actually happening. Try to relate them with the academics in case you are able to do so. So I've done a specialization in finance, so I knew that they might ask me from the financial budget during that period, because that happens on the first of February. It's released on the first of February. So they might ask me questions from that. They might ask me about the economy, how I'm able to correlate that with what I've studied. So that these are the certain things that you also need to do. Also work and see what all you're going to mention on your in your introduction. What all you're going to mention on the form that you've filled. What all certificates you're going to fill. In case you're telling them about any of your internships or your work experience, you should be able to answer questions related to that. Now, if I talk about my IIM Ahmedabad interview, so I had mentioned that I like listening to podcasts. And my first 10 minutes of my interview was just about us talking about podcasts and what kind of podcasts do I listen. We even discussed a podcast that I'd listened. They asked me a lot of questions about it. They asked me about my views around it. So whatever you're mentioning in that in your while your introduction or on the form that they ask you to fill, be prepared to bag each and every one of those things. They can actually pick up any small thing and they can judge you from that. How whether you actually know what you've written or whether you're just making things up.
Very well said, Vibhu. Any other points you want to add, Vibhu? Because this year there is a lot of uncertainty because of the pandemic. A lot of people are maybe thinking that this year they just might give it for the sake of practice, or a lot of different things are going on, different
Yeah.
views. So, any other points that you want to add, especially in specific to the current situation that we are in?
Yeah, so I would say that people who think that they just want to give it for practice, there might be a lot of people. I would still suggest them to put their best foot forward. Even I had that kind of thing going through my mind, that I should just give it for practice this year. I do not have a lot of time with me, since I was thinking about giving it in September. But if you put your best foot forward, you never know how well you're able to do that day. So just give it your best efforts, because if you're not giving it your best efforts, it's better that you do some kind of a course at that time, or you put in your efforts into other hobbies or other things which help you improve your CV in that sense. For personal interviews, if there are people who are not that confident about their communication skills or their general awareness, start reading things that are happening around. Start conversing in English if that helps. You know, uh, start writing things. For that, you can start writing maybe on any topic. Just start writing the pros, the cons. What all you're able to understand from that topic. Those are the things, kind of things that you can do. Again, that depends from person to person. If you think you're confident enough that you're good at it, then focus on a CAT prep. If some people think that they're not good at it, maybe they can start doing this. They can allot some time to this part of their preparation as well.
Yeah, maybe parallelly, maybe a few hours in a week would obviously be helpful. If you, I mean, it
Yeah,
all depends down to each person, and then you just have to analyze yourself and then
yeah.
make sure. Because if you're getting really a good CAT score and if you're not able to convert the interviews, then that would be a very painful situation to be in.
One more thing I would say is that be true to yourself. I think that is also an important aspect to it. So a lot of time what I see people is that they would coax themselves into thinking that they're putting in a lot of effort, or that a particular topic is really good, but even there's I've been there. I know that that is something that is often done. I would suggest that just be true to yourself in that sense as well. Another thing that helps you to do this is to talk to somebody, be accountable to someone. So a lot of times, what I would do is that I would just write down what I. So if I'm doing a topic, right? If I'm working on a particular section, what I would do is that I would just write down what I have done in that particular section or in that particular topic. So how this would help me is that I would get a better idea of what all topics I have not touched, or what all things I thought that I was good at, but I have not actually touched upon them. Be accountable to people. You can talk to your friends who are also giving CAT. They might give you certain insights. Again, there's no need for you to think that they're going to judge you. It's better, it's only for your improvement. So go through that process. I would also interact with my brother in that sense. I would tell him what all I've done in a day and what all topics I've completed, things that I still want to do or things that I have left. So that also gave me a better idea of the kind of preparation that I've done. And I think it was this mental sort of thing and this other preparation on the side apart from practice that actually helped me prepare for that day.
I think very well said, Vibhu. Especially you emphasize the importance of having the right mindset, not
Yeah.
thinking that you're working too hard and working on the right things instead of worrying about the things which are out of your control. And then being accountable, which is really very important. That's what most of us lack. And then the actual preparation part, and then the sharpening of the saw part, both
Yes.
are really very important.
Because I've been in a situation. So with my DLR, having a 69 percentile in 1 year and then going from that to a 99.97 percentile, I had to be accountable to myself. I needed to know that I have to take the pressure. I have to take the pressure off myself. I need to have no expectations for myself. Just be confident about the amount of effort that you have put in during your preparation. Do not have any expectations if you do well or not. If you've done the effort, you will get the result someday or the other. Probably that day might not be your day. It's absolutely fine. Just focus on the effort and just be relaxed during the paper. It's just a paper. In the end, you will get your results someday or the other if you've put in the effort.
Thank you, Vibhu. Thank you. You have shared some pretty good insights. I think someone who
Yeah.
is trying to write CAT very well and also who really wants to get into a good B school, all these pointers would definitely be helpful. Thank you, Vibhu. Thank you, and all the best to you. And we hope
Thank you
you'll
so
be
much.
having a great time at IIM Ahmedabad.
Thank you so much.